Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name's Sheila. I'm an alcoholic. Great to see you all. What a lively bunch. I love it. Energy from the East Coast. Nothing like it. And my sobriety date is March 10th, 2002. Thank you very much, Stephen, for introducing. And thank you for Kyle. I love you. Thanks for inviting me. And or Andy too. I'm sorry, Andy and Kyle. I get you guys mixed up because you're both awesome. And I see a lot of people from another meeting that we all go to, and it's great to see everyone. And congratulations to Maggie with 90 days and anyone that's celebrating. And there was someone on here that is just coming back, and, keep coming back. I am from the group in Mesa, Arizona. That's my home group in Arizona. It's called We Ain't Dead Yet. I'm in Wisconsin right now for the summer, actually. I'll be going back to Arizona in October. So I've been avoiding the 118, 120 degree heat. So I just wanted to mention about the We Ain't Dead Yet group, because I think this is a significant part, at least in my sobriety. And I know the person that started the group has affected many people in AA in a positive way. The originator of the We Ain't Dead Yet group, his name was Howard P. And he was like a big circuit speaker. He did a lot of the AA conventions, and he was so unique in that, well, we're all unique, yet we're not in AA, right? We're all on a journey recovery. But he would introduce the idea that we were spring-loaded, that alcoholics were spring-loaded in our minds, meaning he was an engineer, and he was a super successful engineer. So he designed things, and he said that we were spring-loaded to react in a negative way based on the way that, we grew up. And he had this whole thing about the elephant being tied to a tree when they're young, and how if you're tied to a tree when you're an elephant, when you're a baby, you have a stake in the ground and you can't release yourself even though you tug. So the baby elephant learns that if that stake is in the ground and the rope is there, they can't move. So once they get big and they weigh, I don't know how many tons elephants weigh, the workers in the fields can just put the elephant string next to a little tiny post, and the elephant could just back up and release itself. But because they are programmed to learn that rope means that they can't move, they don't move, they just stand there. And you'd always say that, that's kind of how we are with our old ideas, that we have these old preconditioned ideas about, the way we are, the way that we're always going to be. And I found in my life, in the AA way of life, it's possible to actually change. And I'm still changing and growing, but I just love that story because it reminds me of working through the steps and the miracle of discovering and rediscovering and recreating our lives. Like in the doctor's opinion, he talks about the fact that unless an alcoholic of our variety that has the allergy, that once the alcohol touches our lips, gets in our system, we have an allergy that drives us to drink beyond control, and then we get that mental obsession, and there's not a single human being that can help us. It has to come from a spiritual experience, and then we get to recreate our lives. So it's all about, for me right now, continuing on this journey of really still working through the steps and taking other women through the steps, going to meetings and rediscovering every day, each day is a 24 hours, how to recreate my life so I don't break back into those old patterns. So I'll start out saying that I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, and we have many Irish Catholics, and we were Irish Catholic, big family, cousins, aunts, uncles. Our aunt owned a bar in town, and many times we go right from church to the bar. it was kind of a cultural thing, you know, and like in Ireland, it's still a cultural thing. That's where they go and have their crack. They call it crack, but that's Gaelic for fun, you know, it's CRAIC, crack. So the Shamrock in Richmond was really good crack. And we had a lot of fun there, but it was, I'll say it like this, and I don't want to spend so much time on like drunk stories, but I got a scholarship to go out to college in Arizona. And after 1 year, I dropped out and moved to LA to become a drummer. Well, I have one younger brother, and I was 19 and he was 18. And he called me on the phone and he told me that he was now sober and he was going to AA at the age of 18. And of course, I was in shock. And I was like, are you sure you're an alcoholic? Really? Oh no, it was terrible news because I related it all to myself. Yeah, I felt bad for him, but I thought, well, of course, who am I going to drink with now? And what does this say about me? If he's an alcoholic, what does that make me? Well, then lo and behold, he comes out to LA. And by this time, 1 week on a temp job and I am out of there. You know, I can't handle work. I'm living out of my car. And so he gets this house sitting job in Long Beach or something. And he lets me stay with him. And I'm sitting there drinking beer, eating Oreos day after day. And he came home from work and he goes, Sheila, I think you're an alcoholic. And, you know, I think you should go to AA. And he handed me this little card. And on that card, it had, it was a fold out card that you put in your pocket. It had the 12 steps, the 12 traditions. And then it said, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, I don't want to stop drinking. And I said, you're the alcoholic, not me. Just because you go to AA, why do I have to go? Well, then a series of events, and it's God, to me it was God, presented after that, because my little brother tells me I'm an alcoholic. It puts me into a state of shock. And I had to think about it, you know. So I go to my next temp job and I'm sitting there and I stayed just long enough to meet one lady who shared with me that she was going to an AA meeting that night and she was celebrating 30 days of sobriety. And she invited me to go, and it was in the town that I was staying in. And I decided I would go, and I went home and I told my brother, I'm going to an AA meeting tonight. And he was like, wow, great. And I went, it was in Hermosa Beach, California. And immediately there was a presence in that room that I felt in my spirit that I hadn't felt in, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever felt it. I always believed in God, but in kind of my self-centered selfishness, as I grew up, I became very much a self-centered person. It was more relatable to like, what is God going to do for me? How is he going to make my life amazing? And in this room, I actually felt the presence of what I now have learned was a higher power. The people in the room were laughing. They were hugging each other. There was like a sincere caring about each other. And they had a celebration meeting where this guy, they call them birthday cakes out there. So someone was getting a 10-year birthday cake. And I thought, 10 years without a drink? There is no way. And I thought, wow, he must be like tall, dark, and handsome. He must be like so awesome looking to have 10 years sobriety. For some reason, I just thought if anyone stays sober that long, they're going to be like almost angelic. And they start singing happy birthday, and here comes the candles and the cake. And I was so excited, and I was like, I can't wait to see this guy. And I turn around, and he's a little leprechaun-sized guy, about 5 feet tall, gray, white hair, wrinkles, but his eyes were like beaming with light. And I thought it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't what I had pictured in my mind. And I talked to him after the meeting. I said, you really haven't drank in 10 years? Because I thought he was lying. I thought, look at that bullshitter. walking up there, telling everybody he hasn't had a drink in 10 years. That's BS. But then I realized there was all kinds of people in AA that did not drink. And I was just blown away. So from that night, I stayed sober, and I was 19, and I stayed sober until I was 29. And I went to AA very diligently until, and you can probably guess what happened, all the material things started coming, the job, the career, the friends, the success. I had a company car. Of course, I was a messenger in a law firm, so that's why I had a company car. I was driving that car around, washing the lawyers' cars and stuff, getting their coffee and their cigarettes. But going into AA meetings, I didn't get a sponsor that took me through the steps. I had a sponsor when I would call and I would say, guess what he did to me today? That was my sponsor. And she'd kind of go, well, just keep coming back. But, I just didn't work the steps. And I remember all of a sudden I get these letters from the IRS. And by this time I'm living in downtown St. Paul, Minnesota, and I've got a job, I've got this car, and I'm looking good, but I hadn't paid taxes in 6 or 7 years. But now I'm making money. I hadn't even filed taxes. And I get a letter and it says, you owe XYZ amount of money. So something in my head, I'd been to AA long enough and gotten enough out of the big book and steps to know that somewhere the promises say that freedom from fear of financial insecurity. So I thought, well, I better work on that. So I made all these decisions about AA by myself. And I started going to these retreats. I started isolating though. And I'd go to these retreats and I'd just stay in my room. And I started to get really weird and lonely. And next thing I know, I'm going out with friends from work and someone accidentally puts an alcohol drink in front of me, and I just picked it up and drank it, and that was it. And it took me 6 years. Now, this time, it took me 6 years to get back. And by this time now, I moved around a lot. I moved to New York City because now I'm like, okay, the problem is I need to be in a big city where my life will flourish. And I packed up, moved to New York City. And it was weird because I did get a good job there, because we can present well and I interview well. I just don't work that well. I do now, but back then, we can present well. But after about 3 months, my manager came to me and he said, Sheila, you're a really hard worker. And I'm working on Wall Street now. I even thought I'm like Bill W. I am on Wall Street. And he says, but you got to come to work on Mondays and you have to stay on Fridays. And if you go out to lunch with clients, you have to come back after lunch or you're out of here. And I was like, oh my God, I can't go back to Wisconsin. What am I going to do? I'm going to lose my job. And this is in the World Trade Center in New York City. It was it was 2000 by this time. It was the year 2000. And so I called AA. I said, I gotta get sober. Well, I was too afraid now to go to meetings. I could not stay sober. I would drink the night before and say, I'm going to AA tomorrow. And I would actually go to AA and they would say, oh, how long have you been sober? And I said, oh, I've been sober since I was 19, but I got drunk last night. But I've been sober since I was 19. Like, okay. So I met this guy at the company I worked at on the elevator, and he said, I'll walk you to the meetings. So I said, okay. So that night I had a date because I thought, well, I got to get married. That's going to help me. I got to get married. I got to have babies. That's what's going to make me straighten up. Yeah, I'll go to AA, but seriously, I know what to do. So I had a date with this guy. Oh my God. We were in the top of the It was Windows on the World. We're out there dancing. I had a bottle of champagne. I was playing the drums with my stir sticks on the, there's a bunch of hanging glasses. And glasses were cracking, and the bartender's like, it was funny at first, but now you're annoying. So we go out on the dance floor, and I go down, and this guy is just not my type. And I remember getting in the cab, and I lived in Weehawken, so I had to take a ferry. And I got in the cab, and I sat down, and my head hit the back of the taxi. And I said, oh my God, I'm drunk. Why can't I stop? I want to stop so bad. And I passed out, and unbeknownst to me, I don't know how I got home. I don't remember anything, but I literally blacked out that night. And I was always a blackout person. I only have 4 minutes left. So I'll skip ahead. When I did my reading this morning, I realized since my sobriety date, what has gotten me through has been the thing my real AA sponsor that took me through the Big Book and the steps. She said, if you're living in all three sides of the triangle of AA, recovery, unity, and service, your life will be whole. And then she said, look at what the doctor's opinion says. If you're an alcoholic, and we've determined that you are, right, Sheila? Yes, I am, right? Then you have to either find the release and serenity inside yourself that you once found when you took a drink, or you're going to eventually get drunk again. It's jails, death, or institutions. That's our fate if we don't get this thing. So I would say, if you're new, if you're struggling, doesn't matter how many years, find somebody that's worked through the steps with the Big Book that can give you this miracle. Because there's people in AA that definitely will be able to help you and show you the way of recovery. Recovery is the 12 steps. Unity is the 12 traditions, and service is, it's not just that, but I'm just giving examples of each. And service is taking people through the steps, speaking, listening in a meeting, sharing in a meeting. And then if you do all three of those things, it just magically, everything falls into place. And it's such a gift to be able to say that my name is Sheila, and I'm an alcoholic. And today, no matter what, I do not have to drink. And right there, we have something going for us. Whereas before in the morning, I would wake up and go, oh, I got drunk last night again. Why does this keep happening? Recovery from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That's what this program offers. That's what AA has given me. And just the gift of knowing you people in these meetings. I love the personalities. I love the energy and the freedom to just say what we want to say, be who we want to be without hurting other people, and finding, the meaning for our purpose, for God's purpose for our lives. Like, God, how can I best serve thee? Please get me out of the way, because I just screw things up left and right. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to hearing everyone. God bless.